I first became interested in aviation at the age of 5 years old. My dad was a builder and I grew up in a very much a working class family. He took me to watch the air show at Southend and I was really inspired by the red arrows, and from that point onwards I always wanted to be a pilot. I set my heart on it. So, you know, I found myself at a bit of a crossroads, and I think for me the biggest thing was finding the money to pay for flight training, because it's about £130,000, and you know, my parents in the end, they agreed to remortgage their house and my nan helped me out. But yeah, 7 years later I finally managed to get the break into the airlines. But yeah, it was a very difficult market at the time. I spent my first year working for a Bulgarian airline. Prior to that I spent 2 years as a flight instructor. And you know, when I finally got the job with Thomas Cook, like a UK airline, the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders. Like, it was just amazing. My family was so proud. So 2.5 years ago, I lost my medical. One of the illnesses that I had was something called Lyme disease. Thankfully, I'm cured of that now, but it was a very much a wake-up call for me. And during the time that I had off, the rise of Extinction Rebellion happened, but I felt super conflicted. And to be flying passengers abroad, knowing that it's the most energy-intensive activity per hour a human can undertake. Initially during COVID, first, you know, I thought, how can I help people? I became an NHS volunteer responder, and from that it led on to me like meeting a lot of people in the movement and becoming quite involved in the activism. And the first protest I went down and did at Trafalgar Square. We laid out all the children's shoes and signifying all the children that will lose their lives in the future due to this global crisis. I'm a spokesperson for Extinction Rebellion. You know, I think we really need to highlight the fact that this movement, this crisis affects all of us, and you know, workers in heavy carbon industries, we have to accept that, you know, there isn't a future in fossil fuels anymore, and there are no alternatives in the short to mid-term in aviation. So I've decided I'm never going to return to flying passenger jets now. That's my sacrifice. You know, you can potentially earn a six-figure salary as a pilot. I'm still in over £100,000 worth of debt, and it's not to a bank, it's to my family. So I'm paying them back slowly, and thankfully they support me, my family, and I couldn't do it without their support. To become an airline pilot was an absolute dream, and they saw how much, you know, I gave up to make that a reality. Eventually my family came round, and now they're proud of me. You know, we've got a young baby in the family as well, so when I look at him, it's kind of like he's going to see all this stuff much more than we will, you know. So yeah, it's super scary. The airline industry, when every other industry is looking to reduce their carbon emissions, they're going to triple their CO2 emissions by 2050 based on current forecasts. You know, when everyone else is trying to decarbonise and the industry thinks it's exempt just because it enables us to go on holiday and, you know, sell us all these ideas of consumerism, and knowing what I know about the climate crisis and knowing how privileged aviation is, 80% of the world's people, over 80%, have never even stepped foot on an aircraft. So globally, just 1% of the population create 50% of the aviation emissions. Arguably, we're in the midst of the sixth mass extinction event of, I think, up to 100 species per day are going extinct. So, you know, we are just at the beginning of climate and ecological breakdown, and this is already how bad it is. If we see 4 degrees of temperature warming, which is predicted by 2100, vast parts of the planet are going to be uninhabitable. Most of Africa, Spain's going to look like a desert. People are going to have to move north. We're forecasting 1.2 billion climate refugees by 2050. Most of these people, they might not survive that journey of leaving their home country when there could be, you know, war, famine and droughts. So yeah, clearly our addiction to fossil fuels has to end. Our Earth is dying. Mother Earth is very sick, so we are interlinked, we are part of nature, and I think as humans we've really forgotten that. I think aviation is always going to be in my heart, and you know, maybe I can go gliding or, you know, something without a petrol engine, but yeah, it's you know, I'm not sure for me what the future looks like. Right now I'm trying to work out how I can best be a part of the solution. I want to be able to look younger generations in the face and say that I did everything that I can, knowing what I know, to try and avert this catastrophe.